The Wall Street Journal just exposed the decade-long feud between Sam Altman and Elon Musk that's shaping the entire future of AI. OpenAI is shutting down Sora, their AI video platform, right before their IPO. SoftBank secured a $40 billion loan structured around an OpenAI public offering in late 2026. Apple hired a former Google executive to fix Siri after spending $1 billion and still failing. And Google Translate's real-time headphone feature just expanded to iOS and 60 new countries. All right, let's start with the one that explains everything else. The Wall Street Journal published an investigation into Sam Altman and Elon Musk's relationship. And this isn't just tech industry gossip. This feud has directly shaped how AI developed over the past decade. The story starts in 2015. Altman and Musk co-founded OpenAI together. The mission was clear: build artificial general intelligence that's safe and benefits everyone. They were aligned. They raised money together. They recruited researchers together. By 2018, the relationship was falling apart. Musk wanted direct control of OpenAI. According to the WSJ investigation, he proposed merging OpenAI with Tesla. He would run the combined entity. OpenAI's research would feed directly into Tesla's products: autonomous vehicles, robotics, the full vision. Altman and the other board members rejected the proposal. They saw it as Musk trying to absorb OpenAI into his empire rather than keeping it independent. Musk quit OpenAI in February 2018. He stopped funding the organization, and he started publicly criticizing the direction Altman was taking. That's when Altman made the decision that changed everything. He took Microsoft's money. OpenAI transitioned from a pure nonprofit to a capped profit structure. They could now raise billions and compensate employees with equity. Musk saw this as betrayal. The original mission was to build AI that benefits humanity, not to create a massive commercial enterprise controlled by Microsoft. So in 2023, Musk started xAI. His stated goal: build AI that seeks maximum truth and counterbalance OpenAI's increasing commercialization and what he saw as political bias. Since then, the feud has played out very publicly. Musk attacks Altman on Twitter regularly. He accuses OpenAI of abandoning safety principles. He questions their government relationships. He claims they've become exactly what they were founded to prevent: a closed, profit-driven AI monopoly. Altman mostly stays quiet publicly, but his moves speak clearly. OpenAI partnered with Apple. They launched ChatGPT as a mainstream consumer product. They positioned themselves as the leader in practical AI deployment. The WSJ investigation reveals just how personal this has become. Sources describe Musk as obsessed with proving Altman wrong about the commercial approach, and Altman as determined to build the dominant AI company regardless of what Musk thinks. Here's why this matters beyond the personal drama. These two people control enormous resources and influence where AI research goes. Their decisions affect which safety approaches get funded, which business models succeed, and which directions the technology develops. If Musk had stayed at OpenAI and gotten control, we might not have ChatGPT. The company might have stayed smaller, more research-focused, less willing to ship products before they're perfect. If Altman had accepted Musk's Tesla merger, OpenAI might be an internal division of Tesla right now, focused primarily on autonomous vehicles instead of general-purpose AI. The split forced them both to prove their approach works. OpenAI had to show that the commercial path with Microsoft funding could actually build better AI. Musk had to show that xAI could compete while staying independent. And the competition accelerated everything. OpenAI shipped ChatGPT. Musk started Grok. Both companies are now racing towards AGI, each trying to prove their model is superior. The feud also fractured the AI research community. Researchers who believed in Altman's approach went to OpenAI or Anthropic. Researchers who believed in Musk's vision went to xAI or stayed in academic labs. That fragmentation might have slowed overall progress, or it might have created healthy competition that speeds up innovation. We won't know for years. But what's clear now is that this personal conflict between two founders in 2018 created the entire structure of how AI companies operate today. The for-profit with non-profit parent model, the massive Microsoft partnership, the race to ship consumer products, the competing visions of open versus closed development.
All of that traces back to the moment Musk wanted control. Altman said no, and they went separate directions. And that feud context makes the next story make much more sense, because OpenAI is now making decisions based on going public, not on Musk's vision of what AI should be. OpenAI is shutting down Sora, not pausing development, not delaying launch, shutting down the entire video platform and app. The Wall Street Journal reports that OpenAI decided to kill both the Sora video platform and the dedicated app after internal analysis showed the technology wasn't meeting performance expectations and the commercial model wasn't viable. Here's what actually happened. Sora could generate impressive short clips in controlled demonstrations, 5 to 10 seconds of video that went viral when OpenAI first announced it in February 2024. Hollywood directors tested it, studios got early access, but when users tried creating anything longer or more complex, quality degraded fast. Consistency problems, objects morphing, physics violations. The technology worked for demos but not for production use. The compute costs were massive. Generating 1 minute of Sora video required more processing power than running chatgpt for hours. At scale, the economics didn't work. Users weren't willing to pay what it cost to actually run. And then competition shipped products while Sora stayed in limited beta. Runway, Pika, Stability AI, Google with VO. By the time OpenAI was ready to launch widely, the market had moved on. But here's the real reason this matters. OpenAI is preparing for an IPO, and when you're going public, you don't keep money-losing projects in your portfolio that distract from the core business. You cut them. You focus the story. You show investors a clear path to profitability. ChatGPT, the API, enterprise deployments, that's what generates revenue. That's what the IPO story focuses on. Sora was a distraction that didn't fit. This is Altman's commercial approach. Ship products, see what works, kill what doesn't, focus on revenue-generating businesses, build towards an IPO that creates liquidity for investors and employees. It's the exact opposite of Musk's approach in xAI, where they're building towards ambitious long-term goals without worrying about short-term commercial viability. And speaking of that IPO, SoftBank just secured a $40 billion loan, and according to TechCrunch, the entire structure points to one thing, an OpenAI IPO happening in late 2026. Here's why this loan matters. SoftBank is OpenAI's largest investor outside of Microsoft. They've invested billions, but that investment is locked up. They can't access the value until OpenAI either gets acquired or goes public. The $40 billion loan gives SoftBank liquidity now while they wait for the exit. But the loan terms are structured around an expected liquidity event in late 2026. The loan agreement includes covenants tied to SoftBank's ability to repay using proceeds from an anticipated public offering. Banks wouldn't structure it that way without strong confidence an IPO is actually coming. And there are other signals. OpenAI has been restructuring governance, cleaning up corporate structure, standardizing compensation, cutting underperforming products like Sora. All of this is IPO prep work. The timeline makes sense. Clean up the product portfolio in Q1 and Q2 of 2026. File IPO paperwork in Q3, go public in Q4, SoftBank repays the loan, employees and investors get liquidity. If the IPO happens at OpenAI's current $150 billion valuation, SoftBank's stake would be worth over $20 billion. That makes a $40 billion loan look reasonable from the bank's perspective. OpenAI needs the IPO too, not necessarily for capital, but for liquidity. Employees hold equity that's worthless until there's a public market. Early investors want exits. Going public solves both problems. This is the logical conclusion of the path Altman chose when he rejected Musk's Tesla merger and took Microsoft's money instead. That decision created a commercial entity that needs to eventually provide returns to investors. An IPO is how that happens, and everything OpenAI is doing now, cutting Sora, focusing on ChatGPT, cleaning up governance, is building towards that moment.
Now, while OpenAI executes Altman's commercial vision, Apple is dealing with a very different kind of AI problem. Apple just hired a former Google executive to lead AI marketing. Reuters reports this person's specific job is to improve how Apple markets AI capabilities and fix the perception that Siri is falling behind. The hire comes after Apple spent $1 billion trying to improve Siri over the past year. They rebuilt infrastructure, they integrated better language models, they improved voice recognition. Users still think Siri is terrible compared to ChatGPT, Claude, or Google Assistant. The problem isn't entirely technical. Siri can do more than most people realize, but Apple has failed to communicate what those capabilities are or how to use them effectively. So they're bringing in someone who knows how to market AI, someone who can reshape the narrative and position Apple's AI efforts competitively. But here's the deeper issue. Apple is late to the AI platform game. OpenAI has ChatGPT, Google has Gemini, Anthropic has Claude, Microsoft has Copilot. These are platforms developers build on. Siri is an assistant locked inside Apple's ecosystem. You can't build third-party applications on Siri the way you can with ChatGPT's API. That limits utility and makes it feel dated. Apple's strategy has always been hardware first. AI is a feature that makes iPhones better, not a standalone platform. But that strategy shows cracks as AI becomes the platform and hardware becomes just the interface. The marketing hire is a band-aid. It might improve perception short-term, but unless Apple fundamentally rethinks Siri's role, they'll keep losing ground to companies that treat AI as the core product. And while Apple tries to catch up, Google is quietly expanding one of its most practical AI features. Google Translate's real-time headphone translation just became available on iOS and in 60 additional countries. TechCrunch reports this is a major expansion of a feature that previously only worked on Android in select markets. The feature works simply. You wear headphones, someone speaks in a foreign language, Google Translate listens, translates in real time, and plays the translation in your ear. You respond in your language, they hear it translated. It's the Babelfish from Hitchhiker's Guide, except it actually exists. The expansion to iOS matters because it reaches a much larger user base. iPhone users in 60 new countries can now access real-time translation without switching to Android. This is where Google's strategy differs from Apple's. Google builds features that work across platforms. They don't lock AI to their hardware. That makes AI more accessible but gives them less control over the experience. Real-time translation is one of those AI applications that genuinely solves a real problem. If you travel, work internationally, or live in multilingual areas, this is immediately useful. It's also the kind of AI that doesn't generate headlines but changes behavior. Once people start using real-time translation regularly, it becomes indispensable. That builds dependency on Google's AI infrastructure. The expansion signals Google's priorities. They're focusing on practical features people use daily rather than flashy demonstrations without clear use cases. That's very different from OpenAI's approach with Sora, which prioritized impressive demos over practical utility. So let's connect these 5 stories because they tell one coherent narrative. The Altman-Musk feud that started in 2018 created the entire structure of modern AI companies. Altman's commercial path led to taking Microsoft's money, building ChatGPT as a product, and now preparing for an IPO. That IPO pressure forced cutting Sora. SoftBank's $40 billion loan is structured around that IPO happening in late 2026. Meanwhile, Apple is desperately trying to fix Siri's perception after spending $1 billion, and Google is expanding practical AI features that actually work. The pattern is clear. Personal decisions by founders years ago created the paths companies are locked into now. Altman's rejection of Musk's control created a commercial OpenAI racing towards an IPO. Musk's exit created xAI as a competitor. That competition pushed both companies to move faster. Apple's late entry means they're playing catch-up. Google's cross-platform approach means they're focused on utility over control. And all of this is happening while the fundamental technology keeps advancing, while new competitors emerge, while governments figure out regulation. The feud matters because it shapes which visions of AI get funded and built. Altman's vision: move fast, ship products, build the dominant commercial platform. Musk's vision: build carefully, prioritize truth-seeking, avoid capture by corporations. Neither is clearly right or wrong, but the tension between them drives innovation in different directions.
And companies like Apple and Google are caught in the middle, trying to figure out where AI fits in their existing businesses, while OpenAI and XAI race towards AGI with completely different approaches. All right, that's where AI stands right now. A decade-long feud between two founders created the entire landscape we're operating in today. If this breakdown was valuable, subscribe to the Read AI. We're covering AI like this 4 times a week, connecting the dots other outlets miss. Drop a comment. Which matters more? The Altman-Musk feud shaping everything? OpenAI's IPO timeline? Apple's Siri crisis? I actually want to know what you think. And share this with someone who needs to understand how personal conflicts between founders shape entire industries. I'm Alex. I'll catch you in the next one.